Order in the court.
Indeed. You in tune to the Focuz TV1 network, the Father's Rights Show, standing on justice. Man, Teflon the Creator Taylor, powered by Focuz.media, sponsored by Focusing on the Youth, because they are our future. Indeed. Jaded justice in the court system. Who has your back? We have your back. Live in the building, man, Dusten Whelan. Would you say hello to the people? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Why don't you say hello to the people?
Hey, what's going on? Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Indeed. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, let's see, a 41-year-old male, never married. This is my first kid. The last in my family to have a kid as the oldest. All my younger siblings, I have 3 younger sisters, and they all have 3 kids apiece. So I was the late bloomer, so to speak. And, it worked out well that way anyways. I might not have been the person or the father that I should have been had I had him soon, earlier in life.
Indeed.
I had to, let some stuff run its course. You know what I mean? And,
Indeed.
Now I can truly appreciate it.
So you're 41 years of age,
Yes, sir.
first time father, met the mother during the pandemic in the lockdown time, had a child with a lot of unhealthy things happening. Could you give me a little insight on the unhealthy things that was happening?
Yeah, absolutely. Have no problem with that. It was around like 2019, early 2019, it was around like March. And like I said, we had subsequently got stuck together during the pandemic. Lost my job. My contractor had lost his fleet. I used to drive for FedEx. And, so there was a lot of everybody being stuck in the house, as we all know. And it didn't take long, man, for depression to really start gripping hold on everybody. And there was, some unhealthy habits that were happening. It contributed to, any sort of strife between us, and it's funny how, if anything negative happens, it outweighs 8 different, positive ones, so I always thought it was strange how that happens, It wasn't all bad, but, when it was bad, it was bad. We had some disputes and this and that. And she had wanted a child. So did I. Thought it was a good idea. And, once we had split apart at that point, and I had moved back in with family. And then actually it was like a week after I left, I found out she was pregnant. We had a miscarriage as well. That was really hard, caused a lot of turmoil and emotional stuff as well.
Okay. Let me stop you right there. So by the time that she was pregnant, you guys separated. How much contact did you have with her during the separation, during her pregnancy, during the
During the separation? Yeah, it was like I think it was like within the week after I had left, and this was the first time I had left. There was 2 times I had left. It was before he was born, and then after he was born. So, I had left. I found out like a week later that she was pregnant. So I was like, because I believe that, we probably would have never even talked again at that point. And so it wasn't an accident. It was planned or nothing like that. faced a lot of accusations, that somehow I had used her, and I'm like, you wanted a child, I wanted a child, we agreed upon it, what's the issue? And then throughout the pregnancy, you know, it was a lot of back and forth. I would go and stay with her for a little bit during the pregnancy. She was hard to deal with. A lot of emotional problems, some psychological issues, and it was just too much for me to deal with. There was a lot of pushing and pulling, you know.
Is that would that be the red flag that you mentioned? You
Yeah,
mentioned
actually, I'm kind of a psychologist, like enthusiast. Obviously, I'm not a professional or nothing like that, but I've always been fascinated in it. Um, so I noticed quite a bit. And actually, the first red flag I'd noticed is the very first time I met her. And come to find out, I was right. She had PTSD before I even met her. And, and as we do, we ignore them and we, ride the hope train or whatever it is that keeps us going and try to see the good in them, blah, blah, blah. Um, but yeah, at that point, I had moved away, did what I could. I wanted a family and I was willing to make it work. And, so it was never my intention, to leave. And so there was a lot of pushing and pulling. I'd come back, for a couple months, and she was living with her mother,
so.
and
Could
we
I
didn't.
ask you a question?
Yeah,
What
go ahead.
what you go back before the child was born? Why were you going back and forth?
Well, I had moved. I had to leave, and she also had to leave. It was like a lease was up kind of situation. So we were separated right at the time she found out she was pregnant. So we both were, had to move back in with family at that point. And then through the first year, there was a lot of, I can't even quantify the strife, the problem. It was a lot of push and pull. It was like, I want you, I need you, I hate you, get away from me. I would come and be there and be around. Did everything I could, to nurture the situation. And it didn't get any better at all.
Yeah, I mean,
And then
females are real hard to be around, especially when they're pregnant. They go through the mood
yeah,
swings. They call it. I mean, that is a very, very hard thing for us men to try to tolerate and take.
yeah,
Uh, some get through it, and some just like yourself, just can't. I mean, like myself, also just can't take it, and just it's best to just get away before
yeah.
anything else happens.
And I never knew where I stood. There was never any open line of communication from her. I had no problem communicating my intentions or anything like that, my feelings, but there was always a mystery, and I had to play this guessing game. And it was just like I said, it was a lot of like, come back, I need you. No, 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 get away. And I'm like, I gotta get away at this point. Like, these are turning into situations where I'm getting arrested. And like I said, it was pretty unhealthy at first. There was some alcohol
So
involved and depression.
you were getting arrested for family domestic violence.
Yeah, yep. Um, sh- like I said, it was pretty unhealthy. And at one point, I was struck by her. I was maced in the eye another time. Um,
So the violence went both ways.
Absolutely.
So did she ever get in trouble for the violence that she projected towards you?
Never. No. Because I don't know. I guess it's just being a man, and I've never really needed any sort of, I don't know. I've never felt the need to call the cops on anybody. And, but they're quick to do that whenever it suits them and their payback mentality. And, but
Yes, because we know when the cops come, usually the
yeah,
male goes to jail. So when they're, one of the times that they arrived at you all's where you all was residing, did they questioned her? So it was no kind of way, no way, no how they was possibly going to take her to jail at any point.
no, I never even raised the issue. Like I said, I never called the cops. I had basically told her, like, you assaulted me, right? And I could press charges, and I just wanted a little bit of like acknowledgement on that. and I got it, and she apologized, this and that. So I let it go. I was like, okay. And then, you know, I had left,
Okay.
and there was cops after me wanting to question me. I came back, and then they never asked her side of this or my side of the story. It's guilty until proven innocent throughout this entire ordeal, and I've been
So the
arrested 3 times since I've met this
so
person.
the police will be called, and
Yeah.
you will leave before the police will come,
Yep.
and they will. Is that correct?
Yep, that's what happened. Incident had happened where I was assaulted, and I left after that, and next thing you know, I got a warrant for my arrest,
Yeah,
and
I mean, the best thing. I know it's hard to stay there, but the best thing is to stay on the scene when the authorities are called. But I know it's
yeah.
real hard. It's you just got
You're
to get
absolutely
up and
right,
go.
and I didn't know until I think it was like a week later that she had called the cops, because she didn't call the
Wow,
cops until 6 days after the incident. And
wow.
this will say something about the mentality behind this, because once I had found that out, then I'm like, okay, how do I, of course I'm going to face this. But I was like, why did you wait 6 days later to file a report? And she said her exact words were, because I was afraid you would never talk to me again.
So we're going to talk about the court process, because
Sure.
I know you went to court for this. Did this ever come up during the court?
No, it was ultimately dismissed in court. So, but I did
Oh,
have to sit in jail for 30 days, for the whole due process thing. I didn't have money to bond out. This is, post pandemic, completely depleted of any sort of funds whatsoever. So I had to sit
so
in jail for 30 days and wait for them to throw it out. The
the
DV.
charge that was okay, that
Mhm.
was against you, they threw it out. Far as you and the other party have been to family court, is
Yep.
that correct? And when you all went to the family court, did you ever bring any of this type of stuff up to the judge?
It was brought up by her attorney, because, and I'm well aware of the whole silver bullet tactic, that's used. And so I think that's part of what had me on the fence immediately. The claims of, domestic violence. But again, I had my attorney, bring it up, like, hey, this was thrown out. I don't even know why we're talking about it. But, we all know like the weight of allegations, and, that kept me, very limited in my rights for the first 2 years. Um, and
So you
I had lived with her, all the way up until it's probably about 6, 7 months before my son was born. Then I was there 4 months after he was born. And basically found out that she was staying in motels overnight with some strange guy, and dad's at home. There's no reason. It wasn't a secret that we weren't going to be together. We both acknowledged that, even though I'd begged for counseling, and I'm like, hey, like, what is this co-parenting situation going to look like? And, can we talk about it? How is this going to work?
who
Complete
who
avoidance of all that,
who
she
paid the
avoided.
bills? Who took care of the household during the 4 months that you were
I
there when
was,
your son?
I was the only one working. She's been on disability. Um, so she was paying for her own rent with her disability check. Um, I wasn't on the lease because, our relationship was still up in the air. So I wasn't really willing to commit to anything like that, signing a lease and this and that, because like I said before, there was so much pushing and pulling, and I never knew where I stood. And there
So
was so many threats of running away with my son, and
yeah,
I love you one
what
minute, hate you the next.
what kind of support did you give your son while you were there?
Yeah. The first 4 months when he was born, it was the only time that we had lived together, his mom and I and our son together. It was actively involved. I was changing diapers, burping him, spending time with him, skin on skin contact, um, the whole nine. Feeding him and changing diapers, showers, everything that a mom does. It was shared duties. It was never a moment where I was like, oh no, I'd rather do this or that. I'm 41, dude, and I'm not. My heart's into this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I was in love with my son as soon as I seen him. It's a,
I
it's a,
can
it's an absolute pleasure to take care of him.
I can understand that. I can understand that. Uh, Most definitely, I can understand that. Like I said, I went through somewhat of the same uh, process, but and I can understand once you see them, it's just like okay, I gotta have them, or I can't be away from them. So,
Man,
did you keep any receipts? As far as the things that you bought. I know you didn't went through court and done all this, but I'm just kind of
yeah,
get the grasp of everything
sure,
that kind of happened.
sure. No, I was super ignorant to any of this and the nightmare that can be family court. I was super ignorant to any of that. I didn't start really preparing to defend myself until a few months I had left. So he was probably about 4 months old when I left, and I didn't really start getting aware of all this stuff until several months later. And I joined a bunch of fathers groups because the day I left, it was because she was seemingly trying to replace me. And in my eyes, there was no excuse to. I didn't care that she was going to go and date and see somebody else. I'm like, I had no concern at all to that. It didn't break my heart. I had never even really had strong feelings for her. I wanted to, but once I had seen that, and that's when I left. So I left, and then that's when it all started. Went back to families. I'm in the dark, for days, laying there, missing my son, crying, weeping, going through the whole entire grief process and asking to see my son. And it was no, it was always with conditions. It was always, oh, well, you need to give me this, or you need to pay me that, or, it was always with conditions. She conditioned contact with my son. And that's when I was like, well, I mean, I pretty much knew what it was anyways. So I left. I was like, well, now here comes a fight.
Yeah,
And
most definitely. Knowing that you have rights, you have automatically have the father's rights before even stepping into the courtroom. It's just, I mean, I'm pretty sure you have found that out kind of by now.
yeah,
Hopefully, your paid lawyer. That's another thing. Paying these lawyers and still losing cases. Uh, when I came to that point, I just I couldn't see myself paying that. I think it was like $5,000 retainer fee at that
yeah,
time. So
yeah,
I got lucky and met a paralegal that basically taught me what to do
really
and showed me what to do and told me where to go.
guided
You
you.
know,
Yeah,
and
excellent.
then I done the rest by studying YouTube and just the internet by
Yeah,
learning the court etiquette, how to talk, how to stand,
yes,
everything that the lawyer does, I
yes,
was
sir.
doing it. And hey, I came out a little victory with that one, but it's all about knowledge. So,
Yeah,
that's kind of what we're here for, is
yeah,
to kind of give that knowledge to the fathers that don't know. We hear a lot of different stories throughout the United States, some outside the United States, but the majority of them throughout the United States, like yours, and some of them are really, really, really wicked. That just make you say, "Wow, can't believe some of the things that the court and the other party does to us men, to the
yep,
male." To try to bring them down, and the courts, I mean, them laws that's imprinted within the courts was was made centuries ago. I mean, they need to be updated. That's another thing that
absolutely.
we are working on to protest and to get some laws changed. I mean, we protesting about all these other things out here,
Yep,
but I have never, we barely get a Father's Day. I have not yet to hear since I've been born anybody protesting for fathers' rights. And it's millions of fathers out here getting bullied by the court system
yeah,
just because the mother wants to be upset. We have a video that we're going to watch here in a second.
sure.
We're going to go to a commercial break. We're going to watch this video that's going to give you a little bit more insight on some of the things that you were just talking about. It's an older video that we have put together some years ago, but it's real knowledgeable. You in tune to the Focus TV One Network. The Father's Right Show, standing on justice. We'll be right back.
Way too many things I don't understand. I can't go the same way, not a chance. Gotta stand on business, I can't stand on sand. Gotta let it go, put it in God's hands. Okay, it's in God's hands. Okay, it's in God's hands. Okay, it's in God's hands. Okay.
Podcast what? Much more than just your average podcast. More like a TV talk show with epic commercials, spotlighting independent and major brands. www.focuz.media. That's www.focuz.media. The Focuz TV1 Network.
Order in the court.
Indeed. You're in tune to the Focuz TV1 Network, the Father's Right Show, standing on justice with your man Teflon the Creator Taylor. Powered by Focuz.media, live in the building. My man Dusten Whelan. I don't think you mentioned what state did this case happen. Are you currently in the same state, or did it happen in another state?
Yeah, well, I'm actually in Cincinnati. Well, I'm in Kentucky, but the case is in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I'm right over the river with family right now, reestablishing myself. So yeah, that's where we're at. Kind of fast forward. I'm trying to skim through anything unnecessary in my head here. But I did end up filing for my rights a few months after. I'd been asking to see my son. And always the no answer. And I mean, dude, I've been around long enough. I know what it is. 2 + 2 = 4. All the behavior and all the concerns before I knew that I had to take it to court. At that point, there was no reason.
You signed the birth certificate and everything like months after. Is that
Dude,
correct?
no, about that, man. She had got the birth certificate and didn't put my name on it. So,
Yeah.
And that was one of the other red flags. The 2 + 2 = 4. Intuitive thoughts of mine. It was like, whoa, okay, it's all adding up. And there was conversations about her running away with our son before, and I kind of blew him off. And And then all this other stuff started leading up to it. I'm like, oh, wow, it seems like she had an ulterior motive this entire time. And then at that point, I'd filed for what I thought was my rights, but I accidentally filed for custody, and I didn't know.
You filed for custody. You tried to get joint custody or full custody?
Yeah, full custody. And I didn't realize it. I was just trying to get my rights, and all I've ever wanted was equality. So
I mean, what I kind of hear from her end, and I know they have it's a few things that they would have on your side, but you should have won that case because of her background. I mean, her dealing with mental issues and other things like that. What type of friends was she hanging around at that time?
She doesn't really have any friends, man. She has like maybe one or two, you know, and a lot of those so-called friends get tired of dealing with her crap, you know, the same stuff that I dealt with. It was just utterly exhausting. It was incessant.
Did the lawyer use any of this in the court?
No, man. And I have so much that I could have said and done, you know, and I'm still sitting on a lot of it because it's not just the mental health thing, because mental health does play into this as well.
Yeah.
But you know, she was actively at that point already alienating me from my son, you know, with bringing this other person into a situation, 4-month-old. I'm like, what are you doing?
Wow.
Like, what are you doing? Dad's here. I could, you know, like,
yeah, you can make it happen. I can understand.
Yeah.
Let's look at this video that I was talking about. It's going to give you a little bit more insight. Some of the things you might know, some of the things that you might gonna give you a little insight. We're gonna check it out here.
Why does the system make it so hard for fathers? Why is it so hard for fathers to get custody of their children? Why, as a father, do I have to work so hard to prove that I deserve to be in my child's life? These are just a few of the questions that I'm asked on a daily basis by fathers who are seeking help on how they can establish and enforce their rights as a father. I'm Marissa V. Grayson, family law attorney, author, and speaker. In this video, I'll be sharing 3 action steps that fathers can take in order to establish and enforce their rights. So why is it so hard for fathers to exercise their rights as a father? Yes, I do agree that, as with any other system, the family law court system can present its own set of flaws. And in some cases, it may be the actual system that is causing a father to have difficulty when it comes to exercising their rights as a father. However, in most cases, what I've found is that the number one reason that fathers are having such a hard time exercising their rights as a father is their failure to act. By failure to act, I mean failure to take immediate action. Rather, what usually happens is that fathers usually wait until there's an emergency situation, when there's drama going on, when they're pretty much fed up with what's going on with their situation with their child's mother, and then they decide to take the action steps that they need to take in order to enforce their rights. Here are 3 action steps that fathers can take in order to make sure that they have rights to their children as soon as possible. Establish your parental rights. From the time that a child is conceived, that child is carried by his or her mother. The mother gives birth to the child, absent extreme circumstances. Once a mom is pregnant, and once the child is born, that mother essentially automatically has rights to that child. Because after all, you can't dispute maternity. Fathers, on the other hand, can dispute paternity. Because fathers don't go through pregnancy and childbirth, they can pretty much dispute paternity at any time. That's why you have all of these instances where you see guys saying, oh, I'm not the father, it's not my baby. Because you pretty much can't just automatically say, this is that man's child.
Still, what you have allowed to be in your life, being quite natural, you should be able to accept or to allow to be within my life. You know, that's one of the main things that we do, man. People have it bad trying to be dictators of others, you know what I mean? The only control that you genuinely have is the control over self.
times, fathers mistakenly believe that just because they sign the voluntary declaration of paternity when the child is born, that automatically establishes legal rights to the child. When it comes to legal custody rights, you have to actually take an additional step and establish paternity through the court system. For this reason, it's important that fathers establish paternity as soon as reasonably possible after the child is born. That means that once you find out that your child's mother is pregnant, you need to go ahead and start taking the initiative to prepare to establish paternity in the court system. No matter how good your relationship is at this very moment, it may not always be that way. So it's very important for you to take proactive steps rather than being forced to take reactive steps once the drama hits the fan.
Yep.
Establish custody of your child. Establishing custody is going to determine who is going to have the rights to custody of your child in the event that you and your child's mother can't come to an agreement. If you and your child's mother separate, as soon as you separate, it's important that you try to establish custody orders ASAP. It's important that you act immediately because when it comes to determining custody, one of the factors that the courts often use and give a lot of weight to is the status quo of the parties. So if you establish custody right as soon as you separate from the other parent, it's a lot easier for you to gain an equal share of custody of your child, as long as you and the parent don't have any extreme circumstances such as abuse or things of that nature. If, however, you wait until months and months and months have passed after you and the other parent separate, then if that child has been living with the mother for the last 4 or 5 months, now you have to convince the judge that it would be more beneficial and in your child's best interest to disrupt what's been going on. A lot of judges are reluctant to disrupt what a child is already accustomed to. So for this reason, again, no matter how good your relationship is with your child's other parent, and no matter how good you think things are going, and you guys get along, and you pretty much just do custody based on a day-by-day basis, it's important that you establish some kind of custody ASAP, legally, through the court system, so that in the event that one day, one of you wakes up and says, I'm not giving my child to that person, the other person will have the rights that they can be enforced because they're written court orders. Without a court order, you are essentially setting yourself up for the drama.
Indeed, indeed. You're in tune to the Focus TV1 network, Father's Rights Show, standing on justice. It's a little information right there, because notice when you first was telling us your story, this would have been very helpful for you to know at the beginning, actually before when you first conceived, when you first found out that that you was getting ready to have a child.
Absolutely.
Very, very valuable information.
Very much so. I wish I had known that, but I found that out after I had filed for my rights and obtained counsel. And the next step was, to establish paternity. And, it was weird because it was made to seem like, I was questioning. It was made to seem on her end that I was questioning whether or not she was the mother. And I'm like, no, this is literally like protocol. So we did the paternity around the same time I had filed a ex parte order. There was a neighbor of hers that was reporting to me a lot of concerning behavior that was happening since I had left and, leaving, our son in the house for extended periods of time and knowing the mental health background and the fact that, there was zero trust, so what am I supposed to do? Sit back and just, give you the benefit of the doubt at this point. So I filed an ex parte and took emergency custody for 52 days. At the beginning of all this. So that put a lot of strain on it. That was made to seem like I did that maliciously. And I'm like, no, sorry, it really wasn't that. This is the information I had. You're withholding my son. I'm being told all this stuff, and I already know how you are. So I had to do that, and everybody made me feel like I threw gas on the fire because of that.
So
And I've been
you had
dealing
this
with for it.
you had the son for you had your son for 52 days, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. And after the 52 days, you had to give your son back to the mother?
Yeah, because when I took the emergency custody, she filed a dueling restraining order. And so we had went to court over both restraining orders. That's what makes them dueling, because I had my son from her, and she was on supervised visitation for 52 days. And then she had filed one against me, with all the typical, claims. And it's amazing to me how they grant these restraining orders. It's shocking. Like I'm dealing with one right now. She's trying to get an extension on another.
Wow.
And the weights the allegations have, it's just unbelievable. So we went in there for that. Ultimately, they had
what
given.
did she have to stand? What did she have to stand on? Far
She
as
had
the
she had an
restraining
audio.
orders?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. She
No.
had a audio that she had played in court of me threatening her with litigation, and it was noted in the hearing as well, or the deposition paperwork. That it was, it wasn't. I wasn't threatening her like physically or anything like that. It was litigation, and emotional distress has granted these protection orders every time. Every time. I've gone in there with evidence, refuted everything, shot everything down, and because she's emotionally distraught, they grant them.
Wow, they
Yeah,
grant them. So the
absolutely.
family court, civil court, municipal court,
Yep.
the system has a hold on you, and that has to change. It
So
most
bad.
definitely has to change. The abuse of fathers, and I mean they talking about mental health. You sane at the beginning, but basically insane in the middle throughout the end. Hopefully, the end ends happily. And you
Yeah.
still going through court. Is that correct? Are you
Yes,
are
sir.
you representing yourself now, or are you still getting a
Um,
lawyer?
yeah, I could fast forward a little bit. I ran out of funds, and my attorney had to withdraw, and this was right around the first, let's say, the first 2 years. Um, and I had gradually gotten visitation, and it was like 3 hours every like other week. Then it was like a couple days every other week, and I had just kind of salmon upstream earned my way into kind of where I'm at, in a position to where I was able to obtain the shared parenting. um but let's see. Yes, my attorney had left, ran out of funds at that, and this was still as the custody trial was still getting ready to happen. So at that point, I'd been doing my due diligence this whole time, been in the groups, been in the YouTube, been in the information, learning everything, that just completely consumed like a mad scientist, man, just paperwork everywhere, studying the law, studying state statutes, the whole nine. I was like, okay, well, I gotta go pro se at this point, represent myself. I don't have any money. And what am I gonna do? Lay down? This is my son. So I threw everything, my entire energy, into basically preparing my own case. And I had organized all my evidence under each state statute, regarding what is the allocation of rights and responsibilities. And I had a number of things against her, a number. I never waste anybody's time with allegations. I've said it several times in the courtroom. Like, it's just a waste. It's silly, So I came in there completely prepared the day of trial, and she came in with rolled up papers and stuff, completely unprepared. And the judge was like, hey, opening statements, blah blah blah. I said, well, basically, I'd rather not take a gamble on my son's life. This is his life. I'd rather not take a gamble because it could go either way. All the various different reasons how that could happen. It could be different judge having a bad day, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? It's such a gamble. So I was like, I'd rather not, go through with this. So the judge took that and was like, all right, well, would you guys like to maybe I'll step out for a minute. We'll go off record. Maybe you can try to draft up a shared parenting thing. And she jumped all over it. She had seen my evidence a week before because of the rules of evidence out here. It's like you have to, the other party has to see the evidence like 7 days in advance. So she had seen everything. And for lack of a better word, she pretty much, shit a brick. So, and they were serious. There was nothing, whimsical, and, they were solid, threats of running away with my son, several of those, the parental alienation, the mental health, the doctor's visits. She was canceling appointments, not cleaning our son's penis properly, and it was adhesing over and over, canceling doctor's appointments, not showing up. It goes on and on, man. So they assigned a GAL to the court, to the case, and he did not help at all. In the end, I think I was getting, I think it was 4 days total, a month at that point. After he had talked to both of us, he had actually recommended to lower my time down to like 48 hours a month.
Wow.
And this is going against the psychological attachment at this point of my son and what we've been having. That was less than half of what I had at that point. So the judge stepped out. We drafted the shared parenting plan. It's pretty basic. Had a few custom requests, a couple holidays or whatever, but it was pretty standard. I asked for an additional weekend. The standard weekend thing just blows my mind. 2 weekends a month for fathers.
You all drafted a plan out for joint parenting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
The courts didn't provide a calendar that has the dates and everything broken down already.
Yeah, they did, and it was like the basic one. You know what I mean? So it was all on the fly, and I was like, I don't care, because this is much more, and this is what I wanted. I didn't want just time. I wanted legal rights, and shared parenting, aka joint custody out here, gives me legal rights, legal say. I'm allowed to have a say in doctors, and that's been a big part of my concern. Her and I have completely different value system, and I don't want her giving him vaccines and shit, without my permission. And so that was a big part of it. And that was me putting my foot in the door, and I got it right in the door. And that's where I've been. And I actually got an additional weekend and a few extra holidays and some vacation time. So that was that. And that was last, last May. We signed off on it. And since then, it's been a nightmare. It's been contempts flying left and right, more protection orders, violation of protection orders, been in jail twice. I flipped the boyfriend off, went to jail for it.
Wow.
The same boyfriend that was making threats with his rifle, and social media, and threatening me and my family. And, and she brings him to pick up and drop off, trying to trigger me. And, and it worked. I didn't say a word to him. I gave him the bird. And next thing you know, that's violating the protection order somehow. And they tried to get me in, and this is the Twilight Zone part. They tried to get me on the proximity, the 500 feet. There was like a 500 feet rule, but we do the exchange at the police station. I'm always within 500 feet. The prosecutor just grabbed him. Was like, "Oh, no, I can just peg into the wall, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, my attorney went in there like, this is over a middle finger. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
So, and I acknowledge my behavior, that was not cool. So never will I sit there and say that's a justifiable, I need to be a better example and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's been drama left and right, high conflict case. I've rehired an attorney now. She's been withholding my son, just because she feels like it. She's been endlessly validated by everyone in the system and these modern women these days. And I bore the child for 9 months. My ego's massive, and I have say in everything. And it's like, you don't realize it. No one's taught you, I guess, that what shared parenting means. So she's putting our son in counseling at 2 years old without my consent, and counseling, and withholding him during the weekends. I have like 5 contempts going on right now, and 4 more I'm sitting on. And, it's not going to end well. And I just want, the only thing I want is to be treated as an equal. That's it.
Most definitely, indeed. It's gonna end well. It's gonna end well. Most definitely. Let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
You mentioned you had abusive father.
Yes, sir.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I was basically psychologically and physically abused, during my childhood. And there's a lot of conversation about, mental illness and predispositions, and the whole nature versus nurture conversation. I don't know if you ever heard that. And yeah, it instilled and ignited, all my issues that I had for throughout my late teens, 20s, and early 30s, man. And that's a big reason why I'm fighting so hard. Not only do I love my child more than anything in this world, and I finally get it now, I've heard it all these years, but I'm doing it so that he doesn't have my issues, my struggles, my demons. And all the men that are in the prisons and the behavioral problems, they all have a lot, they all have this in common, it's dad issues, whether it be abuse or neglect or abandonment. Abandonment alone can put a great hole in you and make you, have all kinds of problems. I even changed my last name to kind of break the generational curse thing. Whelan is not my birth name, and it's been in the works for a while, but I am that adamant about breaking those generational curses. I wanted to give us a new slate and give him a new lineage, and I wanted to jump on board as the captain. Like I started it, take it from here. But yeah, the father wound, man, that was it's something that's haunted me my whole life, and it's contributed to the vast majority of my problems, my personal issues.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, most definitely. The court systems, they follow the other party, the mother. They it's like it's ludicrous. It's amazing that they just listen to every single word that she says, and they know, the judges and the court system knows what's going on, as far as just the lying and the deceiving and just the backstab and everything, especially when the other party gets upset, gets angry. I mean,
Oh man, you ain't playing. She's shown her behind several times with that, and every time I've even had just a moment to mutter anything, and I start on the whole, like, I'm just fighting to be in my own flesh and blood's life here. Like, this is crazy, man. And it's always the judge just cuts me off, and I don't get to say anything. And he tells me to keep it brief. And even when I try and I'm being diplomatic, I'm offering solutions every court date. I've been to like 24 court dates, man, over this, including civil and shit like that. But I never get a chance to say anything. I'm just pinned against the wall as the defendant, and and the whole allegations, the silver bullet, domestic violence claims, blah 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 blah. Like nothing ever. We had our issues, but it was never anything between me and my son. She said on record in court that he is great with his son. He's awesome with his son. So I'm sitting there like, well, why are we here? Why are we here?
indeed,
It's
indeed.
clearly personal,
Most definitely, most definitely. So, what would you like to see happen?
What I would like to see happen out of this, my biggest goal is going for more time, and I am grateful because I do have more time than most unmarried fathers in my situation. Ohio doesn't have a presumptive 50-50. Where I'm at in Kentucky does, which is weird because it's a super conservative. Sometimes they're a little slow on forward moving issues. You know what I mean? I'm kind of in the middle anyways. I know you see all this, but I would like to have more time. I have 3 weekends right now a month, the first, second, and fourth weekend from early Friday morning till late Sunday. And that's a lot more than what they're giving these fathers. And these fathers are taking the chump change, I call it, the every other weekends, and they're okay with it. I'm like, what is wrong with all of you? And I constantly am feeling that way in this situation. Like, what is wrong with everybody? And so I want more time. Maybe some extra holidays, this and that. And he hasn't started school yet. So I want to be involved in raising him. I don't want to be that visitor, that weekend Disney dad and all this stuff that's thrown around online. Like this is what I've been giving you guys from the legal system. This isn't what I want.
Yes.
So, and when he starts school, I want to have a hand in seeing him off to school every day. I'm willing to take immense, financial pay cuts and find a job that is tailored around my schedule. That I have him. I don't care. He's the only thing I care about. Seeing him off into this world and prepared is what's important to me.
So, has there been child support established with the case yet?
Yeah. We signed the shared parenting agreement, and initially it said no child support. And of course, her, the high conflict parent that she is, it's weird, man, because it was no child support. We agreed on it. It went probably a few months, and then she went back and filed for it. Excuse me. And every time, and I brought in all my documents every time. I'm super organized. My case is so laid out. It's so ready to go. But I would say 9 out of 10 times she had asked me for something, gave it to her. Even stuff that, I didn't even necessarily buy for him, like a birth certificate sent to her house on accident, and she's like, well, can I just have it? I'm like, sure, go ahead. So whenever she asked for groceries or clothes or anything like that, diapers, the whole nine. And one time I didn't have these overnight diapers that she wanted. I'm like, I don't have any money right now. Bang, she files for child support. They granted it. I defended it, the best I could. Like, hey, I'm an active father, you guys. Like, I enjoy providing and nurturing and caring for my son. I don't understand what the issue is. And then there's always that whole, and I don't know how true this is, but the whole, what is it, the Title V and the financial kickdown from the federal government, and states get a chump, somebody change out of your pocket. I'm like, it just seems like I'm fighting a losing battle with child support. I tried anyways. But yeah, I got child support now for a couple months. It's been enforced, so to speak.
Oh, so you say it's been enforced, so they garnishing your wages or
yeah,
are you?
yep.
Okay.
Yep, they sent me out paperwork trying to garnish my wages. Otherwise I'm supposed to pay it every month.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. And I even brought it up in court. I said, you know what? I said, if finances is an issue, caring for him or providing for him, of course I'm always after more time. And I was like, just give him to me more. Alleviate the financial burden necessary, and no. And I asked for, I think it was 2 extra days, because I'm just, like the game Hungry Hungry Hippos, I'm just grabbing a little bit, as much as I can throughout this whole process. And I was like, just give him 2 more, give him 2 more days. Her reason was no, because that would mean that he would have him more than me, which is absolutely ludicrous. You do the math, and it's like, it's not even 70-30 at that point.
Most definitely. I mean, feel your pain. Like I said, I went through a court case, and that was my second relationship. The first time I was actually married,
Yeah.
and that one was a drawn out case that that had a lot of issues, but the main one is when I went through the process of the child getting taken away from me.
Mm-hmm.
The second time, I said that wasn't going to happen, and
Yeah.
I said I done my research, met a couple of individuals that kind of helped me out doing the walk. I found out some valuable information in Texas. I know if you have the child in your care for at least 6 months, you are basically granted full custody. All you got to do is just go to court and kind of prove that you had the child. And also, like I say, like I was telling you off the air, the attorney general in most states will assist you in the process of you getting justice in the court, making
Yeah.
sure the courts are justified. your rights are not violated, and the
Yeah.
child that basically they looking after the child, so it's for the best, uh best for the child.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's something for a lot of individuals that don't know, to take heed.
Yeah. I mean, that's how the IRS acknowledges it. If you've had the child for 6 months, you're allowed to, claim the child tax credit.
Yeah, and that's same way in court. At the
Yeah.
court, go by that same rule. If you have the child in your custody doing everything for the child, it don't even have to be your child. If you have a child
Yeah.
in your custody, or you're caring for the child for at least 6 months, you can go to court, and that would be a pretty easy win. It's a lot of different things, as far as just grandparents, and a lot of different steps that an individual actually can take to actually get custody of the
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
Uh, that's not known. You just you have to do a little research, or check out the Father's Rights group, Facebook, or at www.focuz.com. Check it out. Lots of valuable information.
Yeah, that was a valuable nugget I had learned along the way too, an attorney, because I talked to everybody about it, and he told me a nugget. He said, if you're ever after custody, he's like, you got to get more time.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely the time, and just kind of keep yourself out of trouble, and
Yep.
just kind of do what you're supposed to do, because things will work out. Because actually, the percentage of single fathers in 2024 is a very high percentage of single fathers. The mothers are not being mothers, as we all know. They always been, but the fathers are winning cases, winning more cases these days. But still, the laws, they've been instained many centuries ago. They need to change.
You're
And
absolutely right, man. They are archaic at best,
yeah,
and
most,
yeah, I can't say enough about that. I feel like a peasant going to see the high wizard council, when I go in there. And
most definitely, that's what
and
it
what
is.
about the research studies that are coming out about single fathers having more of a beneficial impact than single mothers, and actually like a co-parenting situation? Have you heard anything about all this?
Not too much. Like
Yeah.
I said, we deal with a lot of different uh, things. Besides, we have the focusing on the youth. We have the other side of this, that the Focus TV1 network, where we have another show called Focus the Magazine Live. I mean, we deal with a lot of different issues from A to Z, and
Yeah.
like I say, I try to get pay focus to fathers' rights, because I know of the issue as much as possible, but I need to sharpen up just a little bit more on the things that's happening these
Sure.
today's times. But most definitely, I have the laws, because most of the laws are basically the same within state to state. They kind of tweak, here and
This
there,
or
but
that. Yeah.
they pretty much are the same. So that's the knowledge that and a little bit more knowledge that I try to give, and try to unite fathers, and have podcast shows like this to give valuable information. Someone might be going through the same thing, or getting ready to go through going through what you're going through. What
Yeah.
advice would you give a person that's getting ready to go through what you're going through, or going through the same thing that you're going through?
Pretty much do what I did, man. Join a bunch of fathers groups, anything local chapters, statewide chapters. I could name off several. I just jumped in a bunch of groups and got to talking with a lot of guys, and looking back and seeing how, ignorant I was in the beginning, and being super empathetic to other fathers that, I mean, they don't have a clue either, and talk to other dads, man. And I'm still in all my groups, and I talk to guys all the time, and I just basically get them up to speed where I'm at, paying it forward. You know what I mean?
Most
That's what
definitely,
I would.
most
That's
definitely.
what I would do.
most definitely, and appreciate you coming on to the show
Yes,
because
sir.
this is a platform that we have to, like I say, to get the word out and also to find some solutions to your issues. Like afterwards, after the show, days later, we're gonna look more into what you're going through and see if we can come up with more solutions for you to come out successful within this case. You
Oh,
know, go
another
ahead.
really good piece of advice I can give other guys: take care of your mental health during this, because it will whittle you down. It'll whittle you down. Like, I'm pretty sure I've got gray hairs and wrinkles and stuff just from the past 3 years I didn't have before then. Take care of your mental health. Go out there and exercise. Get those endorphins out. Hit the bag. Hit the weights. Throw yourself into a hobby. Do your due diligence, but don't don't let it consume you, man, because it will put you in a
Most
bad
definitely.
place.
Most definitely, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. Get you stay in the gym, do something that you like to kind of get your mind off of that. Even though you more
Absolutely.
focused on an individual that's not in your life or individuals that's not in your life that you wanting,
Yep.
uh, in your life. That's most definitely a very important words. With the court system, like I say, with the court system bullying individuals, that's just a bad thing that we're going to work on
Yeah.
this
It's like,
this
how much
protest.
you can take. How much can you take? And so it's been like, with the court system, 20 euros in your back, going uphill. Let's see when he quits.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Perseverance is everything, man.
It
Finally
most
reach down in deep and, tap into that power, whether it be the love of your child, whatever it may be.
most definitely. If it's a will, it's a way, and most
Yes, sir.
definitely it's a will, and it's most definitely a way for the father's rights, justice for father's rights. Like I say, we're gonna look into your case a little bit more. Look into your state, the two states that this is going on in. We'll reach back out to you to give you a little helping hand on your fight for father's rights. Most definitely. Any any you know any it's not this is kind of different. This is father's rights, but any shout outs that you have to the individuals out there that's going to be watching this show.
Um, any shout outs to anybody? Just, I would like to read something real quick that will just, it's not meant to discourage you, but you got to know what you're up against. Family court is a place where showing love is classified as being emotionally unstable. Contacting your children is classed as harassment. False allegations are encouraged and accepted. Perjury is accepted. The truth is ignored, and you pay to see someone that's already yours. Just know what you're up
Indeed,
against. Know your enemy.
indeed, indeed. And then real quick before we get out of here, let's talk about let's talk about let's talk about your background. I'm gonna give you a few seconds to promote that background because it's lovely back there.
Oh, promote it. Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, man. I'm more libertarian when it comes to, any sort of political parties. I like a little bit of this. I like a little bit of that. They both have good things and bad things, but it's very obvious what's going on today, and I mean, it's right out in the forefront. I mean, you got to take your dummy glasses off, man, and you certainly should vote. And Trump seems to be the only real option. We have two options right now, and I'm voting Trump. And the big reason why is because of strength. Um, Leaders need to be strong, and he's a strong man. He shows his strength to other countries. He stands on his business, as they say, and that's a big reason why I like him. He's diplomatic. He's not looking for a fight, but he's not afraid to, and that's why nobody's really trying to take advantage of it. And this past few years, it's been a shell of a man and in place. And I'm like, oh my God, like if anybody wanted to take advantage of us, it would have been then. So we don't need any more weakness in office. Obviously pay attention to policies and stuff too. It's very important, but strength was one for me, man.
Most definitely, most definitely. And you know, we coming out of Colorado, Aurora, Colorado, exactly. You know, not too far from all the happenings and stuff like that. So we're seeing
Yeah.
a lot.
Oh, I
We're
know.
seeing a
I just heard. I just heard.
yeah, seeing a lot
That's
over there off of
crazy out there.
Colfax. They kind of hide it, and the media is actually boosting it up a little bit more than what it really is.
Yeah, I'm
Because
sure. I'm sure.
I'm over in that area,
Are you?
and I've been over in that area last year, and I'm over in that area all I mean every week. I'm over in that area, the area that
Really?
they're talking about, and
Really?
it's yeah, they kind of put more into it. It's actually more than what they actually saying. It's some more hidden agendas
I'm
that's
sure.
going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. You absolutely have to live in the real world and don't go on what the media says, you
No,
know.
we're not getting taken over like that. It's not happening in rural Colorado like that. The
Yeah,
city is not getting taken over. It's bits and pieces, but I think they finding the individuals. I mean, they saying it's the worst is yet to come, but you know,
really.
I don't think it's not like that. Not like the media is putting it. I mean, they really boosting it up out there. I mean, still
Yeah.
can walk down the streets. You still can live in your homes. We're not getting invaded or
Right.
anything like that. It's a bunch of hype, and it's like they do. You know, you have to be
Yeah.
here to actually see it. But the media, they want them numbers, so they're gonna hype it up.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's part of the whole immigration thing policy, and people that don't want to assimilate, man, they're going to be a problem. Period. Assimilation is not a bad thing. You know, what's wrong with the American idea? Come over here and adopt the American idea. It has nothing to do with race whatsoever.
Most definitely, most definitely, most definitely. It's time for a change.
Yes, sir.
Trump 2024. Indeed, indeed.
Yep.
It's TV1 Network with your man's Teflon, the Creator Taylor. Focus. I mean, I was gonna go to the other show. My bad. The Father's Right Show. Standing on justice. With
And
my man,
business.
yeah, standing on business. With my man Dusten Whelan. Indeed, coming up uh shortly next week here. This week coming up, we got some more shows on the Focus TV1 network. Focusing. I can't even get it out. Focus on the Focus TV1 network. Focus the magazine live. That is with your man's Teflon the Creator Taylor. We got some hot shows coming up, and we got a few more fathers' rights shows on the way in the schedule and on the way in the works. You know, but hold on for a minute. Gonna let this. I think it told you to kind of hold on
Yeah.
until when. Okay, hold on for a second, and we'll be right back with you. But appreciate everybody joining in and kind of hanging in with me, kind of stuttering here and there. But I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna get it right. You've been tuning into the Focus TV1 network with your man Teflon, the Creator Taylor. Until the next, I'm out.